family, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, join me to geek out on the esoteric symbolism and connections that is so out there in the fantastic movie that I watched recently, The Adam Project. It is a science fiction movie about time travel starring none other than Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo. From this movie, I am going to draw certain parallels to kind of relate and understand these terms and concepts that we commonly discuss in the spiritual community, such as higher self, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, inner child, separation, soul retrieval, timeline shift, all that. I think this movie is a great prop for me to kind of hold that ideas and bring it to you guys. Please remember that all these terms like divine masculine, feminine, higher self, inner child, all these are very gender neutral, okay? We all have these aspects within us. There's basically different cogs in the whole spiritual, psychological machinery that we are. So they are all part of ours. So there's basically different energetic principles that we are here to understand and maneuver our life through. Okay, so before I go on a different tangent, let's talk about the movie. If you haven't yet watched the movie and you hate spoilers, I suggest you go and enjoy the movie first, because if the plot is spoiled for you in this video, I am not going to take responsibility for it. The way I made these connections that I'm going to share right now is basically how the characters were set up and how they interacted with each other. And there are main 8 characters in the movie that represent very significant concepts of spiritual growth and even trauma healing, and that's the part especially that I want to put out there in this video. Let's start with Louis. He is the scientist who invents time travel in this movie. So he is like the godfather of time travel and whatever transpires due to that invention, and also the father of our protagonist, that is Adam. And interesting, he calls both his time travel research and experiment project the Adam Project, and I basically named the project after his son Adam. And if you haven't made this connection yet, it's so interesting that they chose the name Adam for the male protagonist, because in Christian texts and in many other texts actually, in the story of Genesis, Adam is like the first human being. He is the principal, he is the representative of the human species in this movie. So Louis, in this parallel, would be the creator, the source, the universe. Okay, because whatever time plot happens after that in that timeline is because of the world he created. It's because of his genius and hard work, and his life's work that time travel was possible. So in this scenario, he is, according to me, the parallel for God, source, or universe. So after Louis invents this whole technology, he dies somewhere around 2020-21, and after that the life of Adam, his son, and his wife Ellie is kind of tough and it impacts them a lot, losing their father, losing the husband, and he was such a great family man, and that impacts them deeply. However, Adam struggles through his teenage years and goes to college, makes some more mistakes, but in the end, by 2015, he is a pilot and he is in the time travel academy and he has met with the love of his life. So he has struggled, understood his shortcomings, where he went wrong, is sorry about it, and has worked on himself to become this matured, advanced version who is really cool and badass. Okay, someone who you would definitely look up to. And that, to me, is the parallel for our higher self. Some might argue that it is the parallel for divine masculine, but I strongly feel that he is a parallel for our higher self, the future self, who is basically dropping hints and giving us the direction where we need to go, what behavior patterns and stuff that we need to fix. Yeah, and also in many discussions, higher self is considered to be a parallel equivalent term to source, or in the source intelligence and the universe. But for this video, I'm going to use higher self as the definition for the future aspects of you, who kind of communicates to you to direct you while you are taking decisions, big decisions in life. Okay. After Louis died, his trusted business partner and friend Maya Soren did something very shady. She went back in time to talk to her younger self and manipulate the timeline, the future timeline after Louis dies, so that she has the entire control of the most valuable resource and technology that is present on Earth in 2050, which is time and the manipulation of time, the time travel aspects of it. So she is basically owns it. So Maya Soren depicts the false matrix based on fear and oppression and totalitarian control. Sounds familiar? Yes. So Maya, and also the name Maya means illusion. Maya means a false reality, and that same name is used for this character, which, as I see it, represents that oppressive, fear-based, exploiting structures and system that is not in sync with the laws of the universe, with how consciousness and the whole planet is supposed to evolve and advance. When Maya goes back in time, interacts with herself and devises this devious plan to gain all the stocks and profits around time and time travel in the future, she messes with the cosmos. She alters and fucks the whole reality, leading to a world where by 2050 things are like bad, like Terminator. Okay, and yeah, there is like war, there is separation, there is violence and lack of any kind of empathy. And in this reality, the Adam that grew up is very much disconnected from his father. His memories of his father is altered and corrupted. He only remembers how absent he was. He remembers that he was not around because he died. And he even thinks that between the Project Adam and his son Adam, the Project Adam was more important to his dad than the son himself. Okay, so he has all this separation belief that he feels disconnected from the source, from God, from his father, and also somehow feels very disconnected from his inner child, from his childhood self. In 2050, Adam and Laura are together, and Laura is Adam's wife, and she represents our divine feminine principle, our intuition, our wisdom, our inner guidance, and kind of spidey senses that tell us which decision and directions are in resonance with our soul, are in sync with our higher timelines. Okay, she is that principle, and she represents intuition. So she is the one who figures out that there is something wrong with their current timeline. It has been hampered with and tweaked with. She finds a clue, and in order to investigate more, she jumps in past to 2018. So far we have covered Louise, Soren, Laura, and the adult Adam. Now, when Adam is following Laura into 2018, due to divine intervention, he ends up in 2022, the current date, where his younger self is 12 years old and his younger self has just lost his father. So here, the higher self, the future self, is going and meeting the inner child. Okay, their true core essence, their pure form, their pure manifestation of their energy before the timeline was corrupted, before their thoughts were corrupted, before how they view themselves, their relationship with their parents and others corrupted. And this interaction is a little uncomfortable for Adam, the grown up, because he doesn't relate to that child anymore. They both are very similar, which is very obvious to the viewers that this person, grew up to be that, but they seem to be, in a disconnection. They can't really imagine like you are mine and I am you, and you can see that there is difference between how their mental state is. The younger Adam lacks empathy towards his mom, Ellie. Now, to me, Ellie is definitely the representation of Gaia, or Mother Nature, Mother Earth, who is just trying to take care of her babies, to provide, to nourish in a world where things are just cruel and difficult. And in return, she does not receive that appreciation, that love and care that we are supposed to give back to nature. And that dynamic, it was very family set up, the whole conversation and the thing, but it too it reflected back that how we have just taken from our mother earth, nature, Gaia, and kept on polluting and destroying stuff. Yeah, and that's the act of ungrateful children who doesn't know what they're doing, okay, who doesn't think that mothers also need care, love and affection. Okay, so coming back to the Adams, so the younger Adam lacks that empathy and understanding that how nature and nurture works, and how to build a solid relationship with love, with equivalent exchange of compassion and appreciation. The grown-up adult, the grown-up Adam, like I said before, like he's disconnected from source. The younger Adam, on the other hand, still remembers how great his dad was, and how attentive and how hard he tried to be there for him, to play with him, to spend time with him, no matter how tired he would be from his work. And the matured Adam, who has grown and gone through life and shit, and understood that how his trauma, his struggles and depression and all that has affected and caused him to take rash and stupid actions, that jeopardized his future and life, and somehow then got himself out of those situations and got back in track. He now understands from a future perspective that how he treated his mom as a young kid was totally wrong, and that needs to be rectified. And he wishes so much that he just could go and hug his mom and say, "Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't know better and I should have treated you better." So he tells that to the younger self. 30 years later, still I feel that pit in my stomach that I was such an asshole to my mom. And he gets the perspective from his younger self that actually the truth was that his father loved him and he loved his father so much, and losing that relationship was a big blow to that little kid who was already having a tough time in school, being bullied and being small and stuff, and he couldn't really cope with it. And maybe due to the trauma and life happening, they would lose the perspective that how wonderful their relationship with their dad was and how awesome their dad was and how much he actually loved them. This part, this future self meeting the inner child and exchanging this perspective on each other is, I think, the highlight of the movie, the most important part of the movie, because that is the exact process of healing your own trauma. To me, this part of the movie speaks loads about trauma healing. Okay, how we can revisit our memories and same memories and bring newer perspective to get a better and a whole picture of it. Okay, and this is a kind of deep shadow work that has been depicted via this interaction from the future self and the inner child, where you understand actually what happened in life and how much of it was the truth and how much was your perception that was traumatized, that was in pain, and you were looking at things and believing things through the lens of the trauma. I believe I have discussed all the main characters of the movie, and yeah, so I'll reiterate that really quickly. Luis is the God consciousness, the source, the creator of the current reality that these characters are operating in. And Adam, the adult one, is the higher self. Also could be parallelly, compared with our divine masculine principles, but he is the matured higher self version of us who knows where he went wrong and what he could have done better, but he's still learning and growing. So he is not perfect, he's not God, he is on the process of becoming more and more of his higher self. So he's in the middle of the journey, but as compared to the younger adult that represents the inner child, the inner innocence, the one who doesn't have trouble believing in time travel, he knows that magic exists and he knows that his father and God loved him. And so he's the inner child principle. Moving on to Laura, she is the divine feminine aspect that represents our intuition, our inner guidance and wisdom. And guess what? When Adam goes back in 2022, he aims for 2018, but he lands in 2022 because of divine intervention. But guess what? Laura was also in 2022 near that location because she has been living all alone for 4 years. And she says, when Adam asks her, "What are you doing here?" and she says, "Having your back, baby. Like, did you think I wouldn't, have you back even in the past?" And this dialogue stuck with me. Like, did you think I wouldn't have your back even in the past? Is like your intuition telling you, I have always got your back, I'll always lead the way, and I'll always direct you. And if you think that if you have made some mistakes in the past and stuff, that's not true. I was still guiding you in the best route that we could take to get where we need to be, to get where we are today. So the intuition, like the divine feminine principles, if you're really connected to your intuition and you've worked through, letting go of false belief programmings and, toxic ego patterns, so that you're actually directly connected to the intuition and there is no like false notion about this connection, it is never wrong. Your intuition, your soul's language and information is never wrong, and that's what she says to her husband, when am I ever wrong, baby? So that's the divine feminine principle telling the divine masculine principle to follow her wisdom and direction. And these two principles, I would like to remind you, are present in all of us. Okay, and these two is what needs to work together so that we can build a life which resonates and is perfect for our soul signatures. Okay, moving on. So we discussed Louis, his wife Ellie, the future and the child son aspects of Adam, and Laura. Next, again, the Maya Soren, she represents the false matrix built on oppression and greed and total control over the people and resources. So much like the current systems and structures that we are trying to dismantle and restructure into more love-based communities and societies. So she is the representative of that. And in contrast to Louis, and I don't think I've mentioned this before, Louis is the one who respects the laws, universal laws and the science behind it, okay, and believes that there is a higher power over all this, okay. On the other hand, Maya, she is all business, money, power, control. She doesn't understand the simple logic of the science and the logic behind the whole technology and stuff, and she is so oblivious to the repercussions of what she's doing and how much she is harming the reality, the time, and the people who are existing in that timeline. She is so blind to it, and she is blind to the science and the magic behind it. Okay, to end this video, I will mention two more characters from this. Is Christos. Christos is like the leader of the Stormtrooper parallel in this movie. So Maya being this dictator, ruler of this inverted, corrupted future timeline, she obviously has an army of her own, like her own set of stormtroopers, and Christos is basically their lieutenant, and he represents the kind of men and people who are just yes boss people, like whatever command they are given, they just execute it without using their own brains and faculties to judge if they should be taking that action. And basically someone who gives all their decision making powers, all their powers into the hand of an authority and becomes a puppet in the hands of an authority, and gives up their right and their chance to do the right thing, to think for themselves and to be responsible for their own actions and thoughts. And lastly is the dog. There is a little pet dog in the entire movie, and his name is Hawking. And I'm pretty sure that's a reference and a homage to Stephen Hawking, who did groundbreaking work in physics, in cosmos, in time travel, worm zone. And yeah, he was a pretty badass scientist, a real one. If you enjoyed this video, do like and share this video. Let me know your thoughts and your discoveries in the comments. I would love to read them and even discover more things about this movie that I might have missed. Lastly, I am not like a regular movie critic or reviewing person. I just enjoy watching good movies and watching them with the lens and perspective of what esoteric theme and stories this time trying to tell me. Okay, and I love doing that. So if I come across another movie someday down the line that I want to discuss with you, I'll sure to come up and post another video. But yeah, I am Meghma and I am an ego alchemy coach. I help people who are going through their spiritual awakening to navigate that process and leverage that their transformation to align themselves and be in alignment with their soul. Okay, when we resonate, when our entire being resonates with our soul's signature, life just seems perfect to us. And this is very individual and specific from people to people. So if you are interested to know more, follow me on Instagram. My handle is ego.alchemist. Also you can search Meghma Hira, Meghmahira, Meghma Hira, and yeah, you can find me easily on Instagram. So thank you for watching this long video, and I hope you really enjoyed all the parallels and concepts that I shared here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, please. Okay, have a nice day. Bye. Watched during the weekend The Atom Project, starring like two of my favorite actors from Hollywood, Ryan Reynolds and Hulk. And who is that guy? I know him. Mark Ruffalo.